Hi everybody, this is Jeremy Baker and this is a video review of my Emotion Kayaks Stealth 11 Angler Kayak. Overall, this is a really nice kayak, especially for somebody that's looking to get into kayak fishing. I would say this is probably a beginner to intermediate kayak. I got it for about $380 from Cabela's. It was on sale at the time, but I'm pretty sure as we get towards the end of the fishing season, at least in Colorado, you may be able to find these on clearance or on sale and probably get it a little cheaper than what I was able to get it for. I got this about 3 months ago and I've been fishing probably at least once a week with this kayak. So overall impressions is I really like this kayak. It's a very stable kayak. It tracks pretty well. It's not the fastest kayak, but it's fast enough, especially for the reservoirs and bodies of water I fish. They're not real big, so I can cover the entire body of water pretty easily in just a couple hours in most of the areas I fish. So let's go ahead and get into the aspects of the kayak. First off, it's an 11-foot kayak. It's 30 inches wide and weighs 59 pounds. All right, at the front of the kayak, at the bow, we've got a handle, a carry handle. It's pretty sturdy and pretty strong. It's easy, you know, even if it does come out, I'm pretty sure I can replace it pretty easy. You've also got up at the front a storage area, a bungee storage area. I don't usually put too much up here unless if I'm going on a longer fishing session, say 3 to 4 or plus hours. I'll put a cooler up under here that's got a couple sandwiches and some granola bars and lots of Gatorade and so forth. I've seen some people cut a hole here and then put a hatch here to take advantage of some of the space that's underneath right here and for a little extra storage space, because right now this space right here is underneath is not getting used. So this is all empty space. It's not really getting used. Let's see. Towards the middle of the kayak, you've got some molded in footrests. You've got 1, 2, 3 on each side. So, you know, I usually use the second one if I'm paddling, or sometimes I'll put use this third one here if I'm kind of leaning back a little bit more. So I'm 6 foot tall, so I'm pretty sure this will accommodate probably anybody from 5.5 feet up to 6'5" pretty easy. You've also got a fishing rod holder here, which is adjustable and removable. Right behind the fishing rod holder, you've got this little hole right here, and there's no information about this hole with any of the manuals that came with the kayak, and I haven't been able to find anything online regarding this hole. I'm guessing it's if you want to put a fish finder or any other electronics or a battery or something inside the kayak, you can use this hole to run your wires up through to the top of the boat. That's just a guess. If anybody out there knows exactly what that hole's for, please feel free to comment and let me know. I'd be really curious as to what this is actually for. Okay, in between the seat and the fishing rod holder, you've got a nice hatch right here. The hatch, you basically have access all the way to the front of the boat and to the back of the boat, and it's got a little bungee right here, so you can use a carabiner to hook things onto. I hook on a dry box that I put my keys and wallet and my phone in, and that keeps it from sliding back and forth along the boat as I'm out on the water. The seat itself is a pretty nice seat. The seat back is really comfortable. It's got a pretty good amount of padding into it. It's adjustable with these straps here. You pull these straps and it'll pull it forward. I usually like it a little bit forward like this if I'm paddling out, and when if I find a spot that I'm going to be fishing at for a little while, I'll just release those straps a little bit, let it lean back a little bit, and so I can kind of lean back and fish. The bottom of the seat is not the greatest. It is padded, but you can see it's not real thick. So after about 2-3 hours, your rear end gets a little sore. Otherwise, it's a pretty good seat. There are 6 scupper holes in the middle of the boat, and the ones behind the seat are deep, and I've yet to have any water come up out of these scupper holes and get my rear wet. So that's good. I was kind of worried about having scupper holes back here right by the seat. I thought maybe they're going to keep me wet, but since these are the deeper holes compared to you got the holes in the front here, it keeps the water out and keeps that your rear a little dry there. Right behind the seat, you've got 2 fishing rod holders. You have a storage area right here, which accommodates a milk crate right here real easily. Fits in, and actually it's almost, I'm not sure if it was made this way, but the milk crate goes right perfectly right into this these edges right here and helps hold the crate in from sliding back and forth. I usually bungee my milk crate in to these eyes right here to help keep it a little more stable. Back here you've got a mesh net storage area. I don't put too much stuff back here. If it's cloudy, it might look like it might rain a little bit. I might shove a rain jacket underneath here. Towards the back of the boat, you've got another carry handle, and then you've got your drain plug. The kayak stays really dry. I've taken it out in some choppy conditions and had some waves actually go over the bow of the boat and then have water come into the boat itself. And even with that happening, very little water gets inside the kayak here. So every session I'm out, when I come back in, I flip the kayak over, stand it up, open this up, let the water drain out, and very little water comes out. At the bottom of the boat here in the back, you've got a wheel that'll help transport. It's attached to skeg here. The wheel works pretty good on flat, hard surfaces like asphalt or concrete. But if you get in an area with sand, or if you've got some gravel, it doesn't work as well. The gravel will get stuck inside the wheel here and it'll lock it. And as you can see, I've got some flat points on this wheel because when I did have it in gravel, it'll stick in there and lock it, and then it just kind of drags along, which it's not the greatest thing, but it's not bad. As long as the good thing is you're not dragging the body of the boat. This skeg does a really good job, not only to help transport but also protect the bottom of the boat. This skeg is really easily replaced. You can order one from Emotion Kayaks, and it only takes a couple screws, and real easy and quick to take on and off. So it does a great job to help transport and also protect the bottom of the boat here. So overall, I'm happy with the boat. It tracks really well. It's not the fastest boat, but it is fast enough for what I do with it. Most of the reservoirs that I fish at are not real big, and I can fish the entire reservoir in about 2 to 3 hours, and this has no problem getting around the bodies of water that I fish. One of the main things that I wish was a little different, but I knew going in, it's not real wide. Again, it's 30 inches wide. It's okay if you don't bring a lot of stuff with you, but you know, I carry a net, and sometimes I actually put my cooler right here. And I've got some other fishing gear, so with your legs in there and everything else going on, it can get kind of cramped in there. Otherwise, you know, you'd have to spend a little extra, more than $380 to get a wider kayak. This is also not a stand-up kayak. You cannot stand up in this kayak. I haven't tried it yet. That would probably be a funny video of me trying to stand up in this kayak. I'm pretty sure it would probably be stable enough where I could stand up, but not really fish out of it. It would probably not be stable enough. One thing I forgot to mention over on the sides here, you've also got some carry handles on the sides right here on each side, and on the right side of the boat you've got a bungee here to help hold in your paddle. So once again, overall, it's a great fishing kayak. I really highly recommend it, especially for someone that's just getting into kayak fishing. And I'll go ahead and show you now how I rig up the kayak, what I bring with me when I go fishing, and how I kind of get it all set up for all my fishing sessions. Alright, so here's the kayak all rigged up. This is how I normally rig my kayak up for fishing. We'll go ahead and start at the bow of the boat. First thing here, we've got some extra rope just for emergency purposes, in case if I've got to get pulled in by a boat or another kayak. Hopefully I don't have to use that, but I have that on the kayak just in case. I've also got an extra paddle here, just in case if my kayak paddle breaks or somehow falls to the bottom of the lake. And I've got those all attached and secured on the bungee with a carabiner. As we go through here, here's the the kayak paddle. Make sure no matter which paddle you get, you do want to get a paddle leash, and I've got mine attached with a carabiner to the carry handle here. And I've accidentally dropped this over the side of the kayak a couple times, and this leash helps keep it from sinking to the bottom, because this particular oar does not float. And this is an inexpensive one. It's a lifetime one. I think I got it at Sports Authority or somewhere like that. I think I got it for 30 bucks, and it's probably needs replacing, because this locking mechanism on my paddle here doesn't work, and it seems to extend and retract kind of on its own when you're paddling, which is kind of weird. So I'll be replacing that probably with a little bit better and lighter paddle here very soon. Over here with the fishing rod holder, what I usually do is I have my fishing rod holder pointing to the side. I don't really do any trolling with it, so I've got it pointing to the side, so when I do bring in a fish, I can just stick the pole holder right here, and it's still facing to the right of the boat, and I can bring in the fish. Most of the fish I catch are on the right side. That's just usually how I position my kayak when I'm fishing. I'm either fishing towards the front of the boat or to the right of the boat. Also down here I've got a fish scale. It's a grip fish scale, so I can grip the fish by the lip, and it'll give me a reading up to, I believe, 15 pounds. I'm really looking forward to the day I catch a fish that's heavier than that. I'm not sure if I'll catch a bass that big in the reservoirs I fish. I've also got here the fish grip, which is really great to use. A lot of times I don't even use my net to get the fish out. I just reach down, instead of using my hands, I grab the fish lip with this vice grip type thing. And supposedly it's supposed to be better for the fish, even better than using your own hands. And plus it keeps your hands a little from getting chewed up. If you've caught enough fish, you know what I'm talking about. The fish teeth in there and the lips kind of wear down the skin on your fingers. So this is a really cool device. I got it off Amazon. I can't remember the exact price, but I will tell you one thing, these do float. I actually was fishing about a week ago at Aurora Reservoir, and I was paddling and I saw something orange in the water, and someone else had dropped their fish grip and it was floating in the water. So now I've got two of them. So I keep these up front with me for convenience purposes. In the hatch here, I've got my dry box, which is attached to this bungee here with the carabiner. This dry box, I believe I got it at Gander Mountain. I can't remember the exact price on it, but it does really well. It's got enough room in there. I can put my cell phone, my keys, my wallet, and anything else that I don't want to get wet in this box. And it fits real easily inside the hatch here. And you still have plenty of room if you wanted to store anything else in the hatch. Onto the life vest. The life vest is just a basic body glove one. I'll probably be getting a little bit lighter vest. This vest does pretty well, but I probably get a little bit lighter one that's got some pockets and so forth on it. Right now I just attach things to the buckles themselves. I usually keep a waterproof camera so I can take pictures. I've got my pliers here. I think I got these pliers, probably Gander Mountain. I think I got them on sale for like $9. These pliers do pretty well. The cutter on them is not all that great. It's okay for mono and fluorocarbon. For braid, it sucks. It doesn't really cut braid at all. But the pliers itself, I've had to get the hooks out of a few fish and so forth, and these pliers work really well. And they just store in this little container that comes with, and I just attach it to my vest here. I got a safety whistle. A lot of reservoirs, when you go get your boat inspection, they'll make sure and ask if you've got your safety whistle along with your life vest. And then here I've got my boomerang clippers. These things are great. They extend out. And they work really well, especially if you fish with braid. And all my poles, all but maybe one or two of them, I've got 30 to 65 pound braid, and these little clippers do a great job. Just one little snip and it cuts that braid perfectly without fringing it. Okay, over here on behind the right side of the seat, I usually keep my net here. I'll go ahead and take this out and get it out the way. Behind the seat, I've got my milk crate, which I've kind of set up with a just a basic 3-pole fishing holder, which I got at Cabela's. It's just their Cabela's brand fish holder. And I've got it tied on with some zip ties. I believe I've used 4 zip ties, 2 up top and 2 kind of in the bottom bracket area. And just zip tie it, and it keeps it in secure. You don't need to screw it in or anything like that. I usually carry 3 to 4 fishing poles with me. Right now I've got 3 on here for demonstration purposes, but usually I take 3 to 4. I don't think I've taken 5 out. This little wire mesh, I kind of made a little wire mesh lid for the fishing crate. This wire mesh, I believe it came out of a small greenhouse that my wife uses to garden and grow vegetables. It was an extra shelf, and I cut it down to size, and I just secured it on with some zip ties. I did have a bungee cord that I would kind of hook across it to help keep it in place, but I don't really do that much anymore. I'm not too worried about anything falling out of here. If it does, this stuff is easily replaceable. The one thing is, you always hear people, when you talk about kayak fishing, if you don't want to lose it, you make sure you tie it down. And that's why I've got several of these little clips here that go to each fishing pole to help keep them in place. Just in case if I do tip over or they come falling out, they'll still be attached to the kayak and I can easily retrieve them. And here is that extra fish grip that I was telling you about. I need to clean it up a little bit, but it's the one I found floating, and as you could tell, it was probably floating out in the water for maybe a couple weeks or so. But this is the one I found. It was just like this. It was attached to this rope and that carabiner, so I just stuck it to my milk crate, and I just kind of keep it back here as an extra one, just in case if I lose my other one. Okay, over onto the left side is where I keep my anchor. I've got this this little line holder that holds the line for the anchor, and I've got that carabined onto the kayak or the milk crate, and that way it doesn't fall out, and also I can easily reach it. I just kind of keep it in the back here. And here's the anchor. I got this anchor off Amazon, and it is a really good anchor. I haven't had any issues with it with any of the places I fish. It easily will hold my kayak in place. Of course, I'm usually not fishing in more than 12, 14 feet of water, and actually most of the time I'm fishing, I'm probably in less than 6 feet of water. So this does a great job for how I use it. The only issue I have with it is, you know, the reservoirs I fish have a lot of weeds and grass at the bottom, so a lot of times I'm pulling up a lot of junk. But a few seconds, just shake it off and dip it back in the water, shake it off, and clean it right up. And I just store that right back here so I can just reach around and grab it and throw it over. Inside the crate, by the way, I've got some of my fishing tackle. I've got this container here is a 3700 series Plano. I keep a lot of my soft plastics. This one's got a lot of my creature baits, a lot of my Zoom creature baits. I've got some of the terminal tackle I use, sunscreen, bug spray. I've got another smaller box here for soft plastics, keeps my worms in. And I got a couple other tackle boxes that keeps a lot of my hard baits, buzz baits, frogs, crankbaits. I've got jigs, bladed jigs. I've got chatterbaits in there. So just keep them all back here, and it's real easy to reach around in the back there and pull out and change baits. Okay, so over on the side here, I've got my kind of a homemade anchor trolley system. It's not the greatest system, and I'll probably change it here. This knot is actually starting to come apart here. I'll probably use some paracord and change it out. This is kind of the rope that came with the anchor system that I bought off Amazon. I just got a kind of a screw little type carabiner here, so that way I can just kind of put the rope in and the anchor rope and close it. It's just a little easier to use that way instead of, you know, clipping it on or so forth. So I just put it in there, and that'll secure and hold the anchor cord here, and it'll allow me to move it back and forth along the kayak. And I use these little devices here and that I believe I got at Home Depot, and that helps me pull the anchor trolley back and forth and to get the anchor to the front or to the back of the boat. And I've got 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back. And the boat's secured with this kind of double carabiner to the front and the back handles there. It works for pretty good for what it is. The only issue I have with it is sometimes my anchor rope will come up over up into the kayak. So what I'll probably do is get some maybe some little eyes or some guides to help keep that that anchor trolley cord in place, so it's not coming up and over into the boat. And here you can see the other trolley here, and then the other double carabiner hooked into the front of the boat. One thing I did here is I just kind of measured out, and I wrote down some measurements here so I can easily just put the fish over on the side of the kayak and measure it, kind of going from 0 to 25. I'm pretty sure if I go 25, maybe I'll catch a fish longer, but if I go longer than 25, that pretty much guarantees that I won't catch any fish longer than 25 feet or 25 inches. So that's basically how I rig up my kayak. I don't care. I try not to carry a whole lot of stuff out there with me. It just makes getting it set up and everything a lot easier, getting in and out of the water. Again, I usually only carry 3 to 4 fishing poles, but so far this setup's done really well for me. Again, I really highly recommend this kayak, especially for people just getting into kayak fishing. I will probably keep this kayak probably for another couple years or so. Who knows, maybe even next year I might buy something a little wider, one that'll allow me to stand up in and so forth. It's just whether or not I want to spend the $1,000+ on a kayak like that. Again, this kayak costs $380. It's done really well for me, and I really enjoy fishing out of it and haven't had any major issues with it. I've caught several fish out of it, and I'm looking forward to catch several more. So if you're thinking about kayak fishing, I definitely suggest picking up one of these kayaks. Again, it's towards the end of the fishing season, so you'll probably see some sales and maybe some clearance sales on some of the kayaks. So and you don't have to get a fishing kayak like this one. You can get less expensive kayaks that are just basic kayaks and kind of turn it into a fishing kayak. A couple things I'm looking forward to possibly doing on this kayak is probably buying some Yak Attack rail systems to put on the side here, so I can put some things on the side. I would like to have my fishing rod holder on the side instead of in the middle, and give me a little extra room in there. So that's probably one thing I may do next year, is put a couple of rail accessories on the side. Other than that, I'm not going to do any other major changes to the kayak. Again, I really like it, and if you're looking forward to getting into kayak fishing, I really highly suggest you take a look at this Stealth 11 Angler Kayak from Emotion Kayaks. Thanks for watching. This is Jeremy Baker, and we'll talk to you soon.